Everybody, Andrew Reynolds here with another True North Ideation. Just something simple I found useful for myself tying together, and I thought might be something interesting to share with you, as many people don't tie these two ideas together and kind of miss one of the undergirdings of Scripture that is very good culture to bring into your own life. First of all, there's the easily accepted idea that two are better than one. Even science has found abnormalities where, let's say, donkey A can pull 1,000 pounds, donkey B can pull 1,000 pounds, but somehow together they're able to pull somewhere around 2,200. Or as the Bible puts out there, that one can put 1,000 to flight, two can put 10,000. There's just something about working together that it's almost as if, it doesn't really make sense, but it's almost as if things were built to work that way. Another way Scripture put it is if someone falls by themselves, they're in real trouble, but the benefit of two, of course, is that if one falls, the other can pick them up. Obviously, three-stranded cord is not easily broken. And there's another idea I'd like to tie with that I think is overlooked. There's a lot of things that we can easily understand as to the benefit of being around in a group. Obviously, many hands make light work. There's the rule of six that within your interpersonal relationships, that let's say I wanted to talk to Shaquille O'Neal, that statistics have shown that within at least six, I know this guy who knows this guy, there's probably someone I could talk to within 6 interactions that I could meet with Shaquille O'Neal, or at least make some form of contact with him. Now, all this power being in groups, there's something intrinsic to that nature that we overlook, and that is brought up when the disciples are being sent out by Jesus, and he gives us this strange encouragement that almost nobody ever focuses on, and that is that if you go to a place and you give your message, you give what you've got to give, you say, this is what I have to bring you, peace upon this house, all that. If they say, I'm not going to do anything to take care of that, that's nothing valuable enough for me to extend myself. In this case, it was providing lodging, providing shelter. But at its very core nature, it's just saying that we as a community are not going to extend ourselves in any way towards you because we don't see any benefit coming towards us. You're not a valuable member of our family, of our society. And the admonition of Scripture, of Jesus himself, is move on. And these things, I hope you're starting to see, are actually very close together. That the reason Jesus said move on, one, he said that it was a partial form of judgment, that he sent these disciples to the towns to speak a specific message that towns in the Old Testament would have been jealous to hear, because they didn't get to hear the message that was brought to these new towns. And he says, woe to those towns. It'll be better for some of these, Sodom and Gomorrah for some of them, because what was only hinted at back then was standing right in front of them. And he relates this to the disciples, saying that you, as that messenger, are standing right in front of them. You've got something fantastic to give them. And if those cities don't accept you, move on. One, for judgment. Two, as stated by him, is that you've got plenty of work to do. And if you've gone through the UBU process, if you've recognized the strengths, if you can see what the Lord has made you to be, you realize that you've got your work cut out for you. I don't know about you, but my life is about those 3 principles: discover, develop, distribute. Wow, not very coordinated. Let's try this hand. This is my actual working hand that's easy to do 3. Regardless, in that process, I'm always finding out truth. I'm always trying to package it in a way that people can understand, and I'm always trying to fight with people to see that truth made whole in their life. Now, thinking about it in even just those general terms, there's a lot of work I've got to do yet. I'm not going home until I'm done. I don't know about you, but nobody takes my life except him. Regardless, looking at my life through those lenses, I see what he's talking about. I see that there's quite a bit for me to do, that it's actually something of what of a sin for me to stay around in areas where the perception is that whatever you have to offer, it's not something that we want to propagate. It's not something that we feel is a good use of our resources to bring. We don't see that you're going to bring anything back to us, which is the nature of community, or nature of friendship and relationship. I give to you because I know that somewhere along the line you're going to give back to me. It sounds selfish, but it's actually very true, that your strongest friends, the people that actually make the biggest impact in your life, and the people you couldn't do without, you can see, if you look hard enough, a natural give and take of exchange. Even if it's just as simple as going over to one's house to watch a television game and you bring some chips or you bring some pretzels. Or the next week they come over to you, or you drive them somewhere, or you just go along with them for something. You're always giving and taking. Giving and taking. I extend myself towards you in the knowledge and trust that it's going to pay off for me in the end, and a relationship happens along the way. Now, getting back to the main point that two are better than one, and the admonition by Christ to his servants that if someone doesn't accept you, if you've done the work to mature yourself, if you've done the work to show people and have something to where you're overflowing and your service is ready and your service is applicable and your service is able to help them, and they say, we really don't need one of those, move on. Why? Not only because the offer has already been made, not only would your talents be wasted, and there's a world out there that really needs it, why waste time, why throw pearls before swine, but the third one is how those ideas tie together. That the world that God has set forth is truly interdependent. It's a world of overflow where each individual is supposed to find their calling, find their worth in God, have that initial infilling, and then that service exchange relationship with other people. Everything He's set in place is by design, that if you are by yourself, you will fall. That if you are by yourself, things don't work out. He has set it forth in your personality, even in your calling, is made whole in the service of other people. Everything He set in place is by design, that you have to be around a group of people. And that is why it is so important to move on if you have truly made your case. If you have truly worked yourself that you don't need any support of other people to actually be a service. If you have presented yourself as one mature and one ready to help, and they say, pass, move. You're commanded to do so because there's that little system that's in place that cannot be broken. That community only works by cooperation. Community only works when people serve and are allowed to serve and to be served. God has set that so strongly in place that there are forces that are not seen that know that principle. That if they can sabotage that relationship, if there's something about you that can be termed as unworthy or unfit, if it's not worthwhile to heal that foot that's been injured and just rather have it cut off, if cultures accept that numbness, that cannot see the value of what you have to bring, if you've done your work, then you must move on, because that system stands firm that you need to be within a community. And the reason is that Jesus said, move on so quickly, make the initial offer. If they say no, move on right away, is because that system will start to eat you up. If you don't have that community around you, and your social circles start to wither and start to shrink and shrink and shrink, you will be left alone. Even if you're giving your best, even if you're giving what you have to give and being such a good little Christian by giving to those and not asking anything in return, when even the gift of grace has a price, it asks everything. My friend, there's many things that we could get into, and if you're a student of ours, you get to share in all those wonderful things. But I wanted to just propose this to all of you out there. Because if you have not, first of all, you have to be able to maturely know what you have and be able to offer your service, without any assistance from other people. You have to know what it is that you do. If you present that offer to people and they say pass, you need to move on. Because time is ticking. If you are making friends, if you're making new communities, or if the current community you're in is starting to say, this thing that you're offering is not really that valuable to us anymore, you need to move on now. Because that system will be working against you. If it starts to go the way of we really don't need you need to move right now. Because God has set that system so firmly in place that the same hammer that can drive nails and build house can bring very big physical harm. He's not going to change the laws of nature just to suit you. And this law is set throughout the course of time. You can feel it pulsing. But since it's there, you need to act on it. Move on. Move on. Now, judgment is different from condemnation, if that's coming up in your mind. Judgment is saying this is how things are. I judge that this highlighter is black and white. I've made a distinction. I've thought critically about it, and this is the situation. Now, with time, If I were to condemn this pen that it will always have black ink, it's foolish, because it's just as easy as pulling out the ink blotter in there and replacing it with this purple one. Judgment is different from condemnation, because condemnation is final, but judgment is basically calling a spade, and we are called to judge. We are called to judge because in that reality we're able to move forward. If the foot is injured, we don't start healing it until we actually recognize and start operating as if the foot was injured. Okay, well, we have to heal it. But as always, I digress. I look forward to interacting with you students out there. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope from this you can start to build the foundation blocks that if you have experienced that where you've been offering yourself to a certain group or certain individual, and there's that timeline that's ticking against you where they're not accepting it, hopefully this will give you the courage to move on, to find greener pastures, not to just go for what's easy, but the principle stands firm that it's always working against you, that there's beauty in cooperation, there's beauty in unity, and if, as Christ said, if they first hate you, if they hate you, it's just that they hate me. There's something about the God that you bring to the world, your personal relationship with Him, whether it's His divine nature, whether it's His nature that is a good judge, whether it's His critical thinking skills, whether it's His heart that just bleeds for people. If the community that you're in can't see that part as valuable, they can't see that part of God as valuable either. And for this time, you need to judge, not condemn, but you need to judge that it's time to move on. That the gift, you don't throw your pearls before swine, you need to move on to the next thing, because God, the God that you bring, if you've truly done that work, is just far beyond anything, and you don't want to throw those pearls before swine. I think you know what I'm saying. Need to shut up, move on, catch you guys next time.